Hello and welcome to Animal Ethics in Action, a YouTube channel that attempts to look at current affairs, the things that we read, talk, think about, from the perspective of non-human animals. I am Natalia Duran. I'm involved in the running of three animal organizations, Urban Squirrels, Animal Aid and Pan-Orthodox Concern for Animals. I think of myself as a kind of philosopher among amateurs and an amateur among philosophers. I like to dig just below the surface of current affairs from a bit of a philosophical point of view. If you're interested in this approach also, here goes. The piece of news that I would like to look at today is good news for a change. Trail hunting has been banned or suspended by large landowners. Now, any statement that is positive and puts the words ban and hunting in the same sentence must be good news. But what is this trail hunting and why is this important? The sort of hunting that we are talking about is the archetypal sort. People riding horses with a pack of dogs chasing a fox, and in the end the poor fox is torn to pieces. This self-evidently barbaric practice was outlawed in this country in 2004. Now, the Hunting Act, however, it's better to have it than not to have it, but it does have loopholes in it. It is weak, it has loopholes that can be exploited by hunters. The thing is, although hunting with dogs has been banned, the hunts themselves have not been disbanded. They can still meet, they can still ride out. And what they have started doing is precisely this trail hunting, where they lay a trail of scent, fox scent, or several trails. And then the dogs are supposed to follow this trail. But then if a fox happens to be nearby, the dogs refocus on the fox and kill it. But the hunt cannot be prosecuted because in order to break the law, they have to deliberately target the fox. And how can you really prove that in a court of law? So, the thing is, hunt saboteurs have have warned society for many years that trail hunting is essentially a cover-up, a smoke screen for what otherwise would be an illegal activity, something that is against the law. But now some leaked details of a Zoom meeting have come to light. ITV reported that. The meeting was between hunt supporters, leaders of pro-hunting organizations, and in that meeting they actually use the word smokescreen and appear to be encouraging hunters to use trail hunting to kind of confuse the courts, to introduce an element of doubt into court proceedings. So, what landowners, well, the police are investigating this matter, but what large landowners have decided to do was ban, at least temporarily, trail hunting on their land, which is good news. It was reported by the League Against Cruel Sports. The landowners in question are the National Trust, finally, United Utilities, Forestry England, Natural Resources Wales, and hopefully other large landowners will soon follow suit. This good news is an opportunity to discuss fox hunting in general and the excuses or justifications that are offered for it, because the thing is, some people still would like to bring it back, to repeal even that weak act that bans it. So three excuses are normally offered, three justifications are normally offered. One, that fox hunting is a British tradition. Two, that it brings jobs to the countryside. And three, that it is a matter of the freedom of the individual to pursue an activity. So let's consider these one by one. The first one is the tradition, a defense. Well, it is a little bit strange because, just the fact that something is a tradition does not make it morally right. Consider the case of female genital mutilation. Public morality does evolve, and some traditions are, thankfully, left behind. One little aside, since we're talking about traditions, there is actually a traditional pursuit that is called drag hunting. But it's not the same as trail hunting, because in drag hunting, the trail that is laid is artificial scent, aniseed typically, not fox scent. The second justification for fox hunting is that it creates jobs. Well, this is equally kind of the same logic applies. Just the fact that something creates jobs is not reason enough to do it. A hypothetical example was given in a different context a few days ago. If we were to erect statues to Boris Johnson in every town and city in the UK, it would create jobs. Does that mean we go for it? Justification number 3 is the freedom of the individual to choose their activity. This justification is used often. It was used, surprisingly, by the late Sir Roger Scruton, an otherwise very erudite man whose death was a great loss to philosophy. But the thing is, freedom as a justification for hunting is not valid because, as any philosopher knows, freedom is not absolute. We have a saying in the Russian language, the freedom of movement of my fist stops where your face begins. In other words, the freedom of an individual is of necessity limited by legitimate interests of other individuals. And in our example, the freedom of the hunter to obtain pleasure from killing is limited, or should be limited, by the vital interest of the fox in remaining alive. Now, a lot more, of course, can be said about, well, first of all, vital versus replaceable interests, also the relative moral value of human and non-human animals, but I won't go into this today. Well, mostly because my point here is that freedom is not absolute. It can be perhaps awkwardly used as the beginning of a discussion on fox hunting, but certainly not as the final word in it. By way of conclusion, I would remind you of what Oscar Wilde said about hunting a few decades ago. He described it as the unspeakable in pursuit of the uneatable, referring to the fact that hunters are not killing to eat. I could perhaps extend that definition and say it is the unspeakable in pursuit of the uneatable and defending the indefensible. Well, this is it for today. Please comment, like, subscribe if you wish to, and I will hopefully see you next week. Thank you.